So, where does the modern idea of revolution actually come from? It's not just about politics or changing a government. It's something deeper. It's like a whole belief system, a kind of secular faith. That's the idea we're going to dig into today, using James H. Billington's incredible book, Fire in the Minds of Men, as our guide. We're going to trace the birth of a faith that promised to, well, remake the entire world. Right off the bat, Billington hits us with this powerful metaphor, Prometheus. You know the story, right? The Titan who stole fire from the gods for humanity. Well, Billington says the revolutionary is a modern-day Prometheus. They're stealing the fire, knowledge, power, you name it, from the gods of the old world. Kings, the church, the whole establishment, and giving it to the people. So this was never just about swapping out one ruler for another. No, this was a brand new faith, one that promised to bring light to the world and build a kind of heaven right here on Earth. Okay, so where did this whole thing, this Promethean fire, first catch? Well, our story kicks off in Paris, late 18th century, the French Revolution. And you gotta understand, this wasn't just some political shuffle. It was ground zero, the very birthplace of this new secular religion. It was a radical, all-out attempt to just wipe the slate clean and start the world over from scratch. And man, things escalated fast. I mean, look at this. In just 4 years, it goes from people having philosophical debates in cafes in 1789 to storming the king's palace, and then boom, by 1793, you've got the Committee of Public Safety and Organized Terror. That fire didn't just spread, it was a full-on explosion. Of course, if you're building a new faith, you need new rituals, right? You gotta replace all the old stuff from the monarchy and the church. So, the revolutionaries created their own sacraments. Instead of crosses, they planted trees of liberty. They formed these little intellectual groups, like the social circle, to hash out ideas. And they held these massive public festivals that were like part political rally, part religious ceremony. All of this was under the banner of a new universal religion of nature. Wild stuff. So Napoleon comes and goes, and you'd think, okay, the party's over, the revolutionary fire is out. But nope, it didn't go out. It just went underground. It was kept smoldering, in the embers of secret societies and radical newspapers all across Europe. And in this period, the word conspiracy meant something different. It wasn't just some wild theory. It was an actual method. It was how guys like Filippo Buonarroti, a survivor of the original French Revolution and maybe the first ever professional revolutionary, organized their followers. These secret networks, they were basically the hidden church of this new faith. And this model just took off. It spread everywhere. In Italy, you had the Carbonari, the charcoal burners, meeting in secret, using all these elaborate rituals to plot for a unified nation. Then over in France, you had the Philadelphians, operating deep within the military and intellectual circles, keeping that anti-king dream alive right under everyone's noses. And it wasn't just Western Europe. I mean, these ideas reached all the way into Russia, where you had aristocratic officers forming the Union of Salvation. These guys were dreaming of a constitution, and they even sparked the Decembrist revolt in 1825. Just shows you how far this fire had spread. Okay, but how did all these scattered groups even talk to each other? How did they spread the gospel, so to speak? Well, Billington nails it with this quote. The printing press, that was their sacred tool. Printer's ink was the incense. Radical journals, pamphlets. This was the lifeblood of the movement. It's how they connected believers across borders and turned abstract ideas into a real call to action. But you know how it goes. As these ideas get bigger and spread further, they start to splinter. And just like any great religion, the revolutionary faith had its first big schism. That single flame of revolution split in two, creating these two rival ideologies that basically battled for the soul of the 19th century. So here are the two sides. On one hand, you have the national revolutionaries. Think of guys like Mazzini. Their big idea was fraternity. Let's unite everyone, all the different classes, under one single flag. Their slogan was the Alliance of the Peoples, and they used big emotional stuff like opera and anthems to get the message out. Then, on the other side, you had the social revolutionaries. Their ideal was equality. For them, it wasn't about uniting a nation. It was about the struggle between classes. They saw a divided world, and they used sharp, analytical journals and pamphlets to argue for a complete overhaul of society. So as we move deeper into the 19th century, that social revolutionary side of the faith starts to change. It evolves. All those romantic, idealistic dreams from the 1830s, they start to harden. They become something that claims to be a cold, hard, undeniable science. And then, In the 1840s, a new word just explodes onto the scene: communism. It spreads like a virus. And this wasn't being sold as just another nice utopian idea. No, this was packaged as the final scientific answer to every problem in human history. It was the definitive creed for this new religion. And then comes Karl Marx. With Marx, the faith gets its official dogma. Revolution wasn't a choice anymore, or a moral argument. It was an iron law of history. The path to salvation, the dictatorship of the proletariat, wasn't something you hoped for. It was presented as a scientific certainty. It was inevitable. This shift from romantic hope to scientific certainty led to one last and pretty dark transformation. As the faith became more rigid, more absolute, the methods got way more extreme, and the very idea of what a revolutionary is, that started to change too. The whole archetype of the revolutionary just flips. Think about it. In the 1840s, the hero was the intellectual journalist, right? Their weapon was the pen. Their goal was persuasion. But by the 1870s, especially in Russia, a totally new figure emerges: the professional nihilist. Their weapon isn't prose, it's violence. Their guide isn't a theory, it's a catechism of destruction. And their goal? It isn't to persuade or reform, it's to burn the whole system to the ground. And this new kind of revolutionary had a terrifying new tool to match: dynamite. It was a product of the industrial age, super effective, and, in a really disturbing way, kind of democratic. Suddenly, you didn't need an army. Anyone could wield immense destructive power. This is kind of the final stop on our journey. While the Germans got really good at organizing and the French perfected the art of the argument, Billington says it was the Russian movement that truly unlocked the secrets of violence. The bomb became their ultimate symbol. And it stood for a faith that no longer saw destruction as a sad necessity, but as a kind of secret cleansing act. So, from that first intellectual spark in a Paris cafe all the way to a nihilist's bomb in St. Petersburg, this revolutionary faith completely changed the world we live in. I mean, it fueled wars, brought down empires, and was the source of both incredible heroism and just unthinkable horror. And that leaves us with one big question to chew on. What, if anything, has taken its place? What ideas today command that same kind of all-in, world-changing belief? Is there anything like it left?